First meeting of the year for us. I'd like to welcome especially councillors and staff and members of the public. Nice to have you all here. Are we and certainly international clientele on the? Are we live streaming? All okay? Good to go. All right. Could I ask Councillor Truman please to give us a blessing for today? Thank you, Councillor Truman.
I te atua kaharawa ki a tata mai koe ki a mātou I tēnei rā, manaaki te a mātou mahi katoa I rongi tingoa o te matua, o te tama, o te wairua tapu, ake, āmene.
Amen. Thank you very much, Councillor Truman. Could I call for apologies, please?
Through the Chair, an apology from Councillor Boddy, who has a medical appointment in Cambridge today.
Councillor Boddy, okay, he's away. Would you like to move that way? Councillor Johns, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Conflicts of interest. Any members have any conflicts of interest? I'd like to announce 4.1 and 4.2, 4.3. As per legal advice, unfortunately I will not be able to partake in the matters concerning Kinloch. I've sought further legal advice since the subsequent decision was made, and that decision, that advice as such, will put the process in jeopardy. So I'll be calling on the Deputy Mayor to chair that process, if that's okay. So I'll go to confirmation of minutes on the 13th of December, 3.1. Any matters arising from those minutes or any points of clarification? Okay. Could I have a mover, therefore, for those minutes, please? Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so 4.1. Deputy Mayor, if you'd like to come forward, thank you.
Right, okay. Good morning, Nick. If you'd like to bring us up to date with Kinloch Lakefront Reserve.
Good afternoon, councillors. You'll see on your agenda today you've got a number of sequential items dealing with the matters at Kinloch. This first item which I've prepared is simply providing you with further information and essentially introducing the 173 submissions that were not previously presented to you when you made your decision making back in December last year. What I would suggest is over the coming items you're going to be receiving some additional information in terms of the views of an action group and a petition, and then you'll be moving into another item where you will have the opportunity to debate the matters surrounding Kinloch and the management of that Esplanade Reserve. What I'd suggest is that I take this item as being read at this point so you can accept the information, and that if you require any further officer advice, the appropriate time for you to seek that may well be when you get to that item where you're discussing the motion that's being put forward. At that point you will have all the information you need and you can seek any officer advice at that stage.
Thanks, Nick. Is there any further queries from the councillors?
No, interrupt. We can hear this gentleman really well. We can't hear you people at all, or not very easily.
Sorry, can you hear us?
Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to members of the public. My apologies. Nice to see so many people here today. So, do we have a mover for the items?
I'll move those.
Thank you, Councillor Jollins. And a seconder? Thank you, Barry. So that item is moved. All in favour? Thank you. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 4.3. Sorry. Item 4.2. The petition. Okay. Mr. Wordsworth, welcome.
Thank you.
And I believe you have
Get myself a drink of water here.
certainly 5 minutes to present
Can't
today.
hear you, Rosie.
Sorry.
Can't hear you.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'm usually really good at being quite loud, but I'll try harder.
Hear you now.
Okay, good. You have 5 minutes, John, so thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. My name is John Wordsworth. I am the chairperson of the Kinloch Action Group and so involved with the petition. Okay, I'm here to speak to it. Better? Good. In doing so, I am mindful that I must not be disrespectful, nor offensive, nor make any malicious, or for want of a better word, mischievous statement. This despite the fact that we believe that we have been disrespected, and it appears continue to be so by some council workers. I hesitate to use the word officer, for having been a military officer, police officer, and Salvation Army officer, it implies the words sir, saluting, paying obeisance to, none of which I intend to do to somebody whom, by virtue of my rates, I employ. And as to mischievous, none of us in Kinloch believe that the missing 170-odd submissions was a mere administrative oversight. But please be assured I will adhere to the mandate. The decision on the 13th evoked an immediate and strong negative response. One outcome of this was the petition, which I now formally present. A criticism of it from some quarters was that it wrongly implied that the reserve was to be completely closed. Although some of the one-liners did not specify that the primary issue was to do with vehicle closure, all supporting documentation, including flyers, posters, and the blurb on Facebook, clearly stated that this was the central issue. And so we believe that the vast majority of people have signed the petition understanding the true nature of it. The numbers speak for themselves. I believe that the capital value rating petition attracted 7,000 signatories from across all of the Taupo rating district. The fact that the Kinloch petition has received, with signatures that have come in since its presentation last Tuesday, approximately 1,600 signatures, is strong testament to the community's feeling regarding the proposed closure. Of greatest significance, however, for we know you do not bind yourself to numbers, and so worthy of your most meaningful consideration are the comments made by many of the signatories. As time and brief, just two broad areas. Firstly, comments that support our assertion that Kinloch is unique. There is a wairua, a spirit that has its genesis in those who founded it and has been nurtured by the generations since, many of whom are represented here today. It can only be experienced and appreciated by those who have spent much time there. There are paradigms and protocols, a love for Whangamata Bay and the far reaches of the western shores that an outsider, especially someone new to the area, would have no comprehension of. With all due respect, Kinloch is not Long Bay. Of course, there are a few who want to protect their patch, but for the vast majority, Kinloch, with its walkways, public reserves and beaches is a place for all. As the Kinloch Recreation Reserves Management Plan 2007 clearly encapsulates. Issue E, Policy C, allowing for easy access by all ages and abilities, including wheelchair access where safe and practical. Secondly, comments that express grave concern at the Council's behaviour to date. I am truly hopeful of a resolution today that ends the acrimony and mistrust that presently exists between many Kinlockians and this Council. One that enables the continuation of the good work that has commenced over recent times between representatives of the Kinloch community and members of the Council. There is an opportunity here for us to work together for the long-term good of Kinloch, its ethos and natural resources. We hope that you good people do the right thing and seize the day. So in conclusion, and hoping that I have not overstayed my welcome by breaching the 5-minute rule, the size of the petition and the comments made strongly support our unequivocal and non-negotiable position that the reserve remains open to vehicle traffic. We accept that urgent work needs to be done to the reserve, some of which was signalled as far back as the mid-2000s. The next item on the agenda, our submission which addresses all of the issues raised earlier, speaks to this. So thank you for your time. May God bless you and guide you as you exercise your elected duty. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Any further comments from the councillors? So, do we have a seconder for a mover, sorry, for the petition? Thank you, Councillor Jollins. And a seconder?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Cousins. And so that is in favour. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? And carried. Thank you. Right, item 4.3. So,
Madam Chairman, I'll probably take this one. So, as was just alluded to, you have a submission that's been received by a Kinloch Action Group. That's in front of you there. So, it's, as the resolution says, that information is received for your information and is obviously something that you may wish to take into account in the next item, 4.4.
couldn't hear you.
Sound system's great. Can you hear me now? Yes. So I just said that in front of the councillors is the submission given by the Kinloch Action Group, which the councillors will receive as part of this and will be able to consider as part of item 4.4.
And I would like to thank the community and those who've put this together. Obviously it's taken some time and it's good to see the community working together on this, so thank you. Do we have a mover for this item?
I'll move the item.
Thank you, Barry. And do we have a seconder?
Yep, second.
Thank you, John. And all those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. Item 4.4. So, who would like to speak to this resolution?
Oh, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. As the four of us proposed this motion, I'm going to speak to it regarding the moving the Taupo District Council revokes all resolution number TDC 2016 212/01 on 30th December in relation to vehicles accessing the Kinloch Lakefront Reserve, which is set out below. Do I need to read that out, or just as taken as read?
Do we have a copy?
It's in front of you.
Okay.
Or perhaps for the benefit of the members of the public, I should read it out.
Probably, thank you.
The council, well, I think as 4.4 notice of motion actually recommends that we concentrate on revokes parts 2 and 3, which agrees to close, the resolution was agrees to close the reserve to vehicles once additional parking has been created. And point 3, agrees to make the consequential changes to the reserve management plan to reflect the closure of the reserve to vehicles. I'm just going to give the background to the notice of motion. Just going to read it. It's on page 46. I'll just read it out if I'm allowed to. Read it out. Okay. This request is consistent with the current reserve management plan and reflects the majority of views and preferences received by council from submitters across 2 rounds of significant consultation.
Sorry about that. Don't know how to turn it off.
Establishing barriers to protect the populace is consistent with the district plan. A proposal to replacement resolution is a reasonable and practical option for council to undertake. The decision made in council on the 30th of December requires amendments to the reserve management plan. The paper presented to council on the 30th of December did not identify what these consequential amendments are likely to be and is therefore inconsistent with council being able to make a fully informed decision on the closure. Given the significant consultation already undertaken and public support for the reserve not to be closed, we believe the decision to close should not have been made without further understanding of these amendments. The council is also not currently in a position to be able to comment on what the impact will be for residents, nor identify adequately safety concerns relating to changes to parking and vehicular movements as a result of this closure of the reserve. This makes the resolution of the 30th of December inconsistent with the elected officials' obligations under the Health and Safety Act as a PCBU. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in favour of the resolution? Do we have anyone who wishes to speak against the resolution? So we'll put the motion to the meeting.
Just through the chair, just for a point of clarity, probably Mr Green, just in with the resolution that was passed on the 13th of December, it was for the officers were instructed to go away and provide all for the additional parking and whatnot. That would have to go away and come back with costings and everything else. So I'm just wondering, is this sort of cart before horse? Do we not have to wait for that work to come back before we can go on? Because with part of this being about elected officials' obligations under the Health and Safety Act, that was indeed one of the main reasons behind the closure being appropriate.
Through you, Madam Chair, that's totally over to you as elected members. So you're right, the resolution that you passed asked us to bring that information back to you. That's not prepared already yet. If this resolution is to pass as it currently has been moved and seconded, then we wouldn't need to do that work. That would be the end of the matter. You then, as councillors, would need to decide what do you then replace that with, because otherwise you leave me in a bit of a void. And so I'd then be looking at you as a council as to what do you then want to get me to do for the future of the reserve.
So just through the chair, so based on this notice of motion right now, in its entirety, if it were to pass, it would mean that the issue is revisited in its entirety? Is that because if we knock out that resolution, it would go to status quo, is that correct?
That's right. So if this passes as proposed and seconded, then that resolution dated 13th of December disappears. You're then essentially left back to the resolution previous that, which was one asking for consultation, which is a bit of, it's nonsensical because we've already done that. So hence I'd be saying we're actually in a void here. We need something else to replace it. What do you want us to replace it with?
Okay, but based on 4.1, receiving the submissions that were admitted from the process in the first place, 4.2, receiving the petition, then 4.3 with a suggestion from a community group, would that then not fill the void in helping us revisit if the resolution was revoked? I'm just trying to get my head around.
Through the chair.
I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for a response, thank you.
No, at that point I would still need a decision from you in terms of what you wanted me to do. So you've received that information, but in receiving that just sits on the table. I would then need or council would need a steer in terms of what do you then want us to do. And that could be that you ask us to do further plans. It could be that you say, let's just leave it at that. It could be, there's a whole lot of different options there for you to put forward.
Which the notice of motion doesn't.
Can we propose a new notice of motion? Yeah,
Someone could, through Madam Chair, someone could either propose a new notice of motion if this motion was successful. Someone could propose a new notice of motion at that point to replace it with something. Alternatively, you could do an amendment to this notice of motion.
Could we
today?
So we could do an amendment?
Through the chair, that could be proposed, yes. There could be an altered notice of motion proposed, but I don't understand that's before the meeting at the moment.
Sure. If it assists through the chair, our intention, and acknowledging Gareth Green's comments, that if this resolution is passed, that then leaves a void for the council in terms of direction. And it is our intention, if that motion is successfully revoked, to propose a new resolution for your consideration to assist in some direction from council.
I would like to propose a new motion. Can I do that?
You couldn't propose a new motion right now. You would have to deal with this first and then do that subsequently. What you could do is to pose an amendment to this notice of motion.
Just through the chair, I can't see how we can, to move a notice of motion and then leave a void, to me doesn't make sense. I mean, we've already received submissions without having to go back and look at that flawed process in the first place. So if this is accepted, then, and we have to go back after 2 years of what we've been through, would it be still to await? Could we ask that we still wait for that work to be done that we asked for in December? But I just don't understand. The decision on the books is for it to be closed and for work to be done, of which neither has been done because the work hasn't been done, so it's still status quo, and it could be 2 to 3 years before that's done because of the money and budgets and whatnot. This to me I'm just not sure where to take this, because if we're to pass this to leave a void, then we're going to sit here and have a back and forwards discussion again about what we want, and I don't think we could actually change the decision like that today.
So the notice of motion as it currently sits is to revoke that December resolution. So there would be a void unless you made a subsequent decision. My legal advice I just received was that you've actually got a mover and a seconder now of this, so you actually do need to consider this now before you go into an amendment.
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, it's been moved, it's been seconded. You've asked for speakers against. I think it should be put to the meeting.
Right.
Could the
Okay.
executive speak up? We can't hear anyone, we can hear everyone else.
We're just discussing. Yep. So, would anyone else want to speak for or against the motion?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. I suppose from where I'm sitting, if it was to revoke the decision because of process, because the 173 submissions were left out, then I could go with that because to me the process wasn't followed. But we've just received them, and I know each and every one of us has read through them thoroughly. So as from where I'm sitting, I just think the information put to us from the council officers as well as from the community, I still feel that the right decision is to leave it as a reserve for people, not for cars. My son's also in a wheelchair, so I fully understand being able to get access to a reserve is really important, and I want that to be made clear when we do look at the revised design. But at this stage, we haven't seen it, and I think this has come too early. We need to see what that was, and then then we can go. But we haven't seen that yet. The community hasn't seen what that looks like, and it could be really wonderful. So that's what I would like to see.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to speak for the motion. It's my belief that with good planning and detailed planning, that the four items raised in the report by Mr. Carroll, being the management of the reserve so that it continues to meet its purpose of an Esplanade Reserve, provide a lakefront area for people to recreate in a variety of ways, to provide a safe environment where people can picnic, play, cycle, walk, and which activities are prioritised over vehicles, protect the vegetation on the reserve, and to continue to provide shade and amenity to protect the erosion. I think with good planning and detailed planning, all those things can be achieved.
Through the Chair, I'd like to speak in support of the resolution as well then, thank you. I believe that there's a flaw in the logic of officers in relation to the key points made about a conflict between the management plan and the district plan, with the management plan providing for vehicle access and the district plan requirement for vehicles to be kept away from trees. These plans are not mutually exclusive. You can do both at the same time without conflict. And the two plans are not at odds. We just need to find a means to protect the notable trees. And the plan that you saw from the Kinloch Working Group is an example of how that might work. And we see today that the opinion of the officers still remains the same even after the inclusion of the missing submissions. They state that in their opinion, closing the reserve to vehicles is the most efficient and effective way to achieve the objectives they have set out. I believe, and I also believe a lot of my fellow councillors, that these objectives can be achieved efficiently and effectively while keeping the reserve open to traffic. There's the will of the local people to keep the reserve open, as you've seen through an extensive consultation process and indeed with a petition, and there are viable options to address these issues. We can revoke the resolution from December, but we also do need to propose a way forward to staff, and right now they have no direction on this matter. And there's no point in doing nothing and going back to the drawing board. We've had 2 years of consultation under our belts, and we need to restore faith in this process that we've just been through. It's up to us as governance to show leadership and provide direction to the staff on the future of this reserve. And local democracy plays an integral role in how people feel about where they live. And we've seen this throughout the process. And this reserve is integral to how people feel about their lives in Kinloch. And frankly, we need to listen to them. Thank you.
Through the Chair, I'd like to speak against the motion. Look, I want to acknowledge that I believe it's embarrassing that 2 years on we still haven't resolved this issue, and we're looking at going back and spending a whole lot more time on it. I also want to acknowledge that the people of Kinloch are passionate about this issue, and while I may not live there, I do understand passion. I'm very passionate about a lot of issues. And I also believe that democracy is important. But I think at times we have to have the courage to do what is right, not necessarily what is seen by the majority as being right. And I still believe that we have to protect, I still believe we have to protect the foreshore and the lake. And that is exactly where I come from, and I will be voting against this motion.
Councillor Cousins?
Through the chair, I'd just like to back up some of the councillors speaking for the resolution. I acknowledge what Councillor Truman has said about, quiet. So I understand it, but Councillor Truman talking about wanting to spend quiet time with children on the foreshore, I understand that. But I hark back to when I stood to be a councillor, was to be a representative of the people. I'm a Tongariro Ward councillor first, but actually I'm a Taupo District councillor first, a Tongariro Ward councillor as my underwriting role. But legislation tells us that we must consult with our people. And the one crucial issue for me has always been to listen to our people, because that's who I'm elected to represent. So you've got legislation there telling us we've got to consult, but we've got policy which sort of counteracts that. Well, we write policy, we can change policy, we can make whatever we want to happen for our people. So 234 submissions voted, were submitted. 14 were against, wanted the chain put up and vehicles banned. The rest of them wanted the chain down. That's 6% wanted that chain up. That's overwhelming. The people at Kinloch have spoken. They've given us a way forward with a fantastic plan, which is still open for consultation. But I don't see how we cannot listen to these passionate people and say, let's cut their reserve off. To me, it doesn't make good governance. We are here for our people. They pay us to be here. I can only think that I have to support these people and my fellow councillors who wish to revoke this resolution and take that chain down.
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk for or against the motion? I just want to take a 1-minute recess. Thank you.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, but they're making
Well, you see, that was the trouble. That was supposed to follow on from the background of notification. The resolution, the new resolution.
Really confused. Really confused. It's giving me a headache.
Well, it's quite simple. You can't move that without putting something there. Because you still
You didn't show me that.
Well, Roseanne was going to move the new so I couldn't. And she didn't.
We have to go with what you and John.
And that's how the items done. Well, you've got to revoke it before you can put a new resolution. You can't even suggest a resolution. You can't suggest a new motion until you've dealt with the subject matter.
Right, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, I just need to take some advice. Right, we now have the motion. Sorry?
Can I ask just one clarifying question before you move on? Could I ask how the Environment Court might see the Kinloch plan? Would anybody have a view of that?
Probably Mr. Carroll's probably the best place to.
Could I just get some, sorry, can you hear me back there? Yes. Yep. Can I just get some clarity around specifically what the question is?
Well, the plan that they have produced and where the cars are going to be and what's going to be on the reserve, if there was legal action taken, how do you think the Environment Court would view that?
The focus of the Environment Court would be on whether council is complying with the rules in its district plan.
Right.
And at the moment, the rules in the district plan are not being complied with. Now, what we've talked about over the last 2 years are various ways of achieving that compliance. The key thing is that vehicles are not intended to be within 4 metres of the base of the trunks of those notable trees. And as we've discussed, there are different ways of achieving that outcome. But of course, this matter is not just about that particular outcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we need to put the motion to the vote. So we have a mover and a seconder. So can I see a show of hands as to who is in favour of the motion, please? For the motion? Oh, no, hang on, sorry. For the motion.
Is what you asked?
Yes.
To revoke.
So just to clarify, this.
Sorry, clarification here, please.
To clarify, this is the motion
to revoke
the 13th of December 2016 resolution.
Okay, and you're going to move, who's the mover and the seconder? Please clarify again.
Councillor Williamson moved.
So point of order, Mr. Green, I'm just getting really confused. We still have a resolution. This is asking to revoke a resolution where we've asked officers to go away and do some work, and we still haven't received that back.
Correct.
So you're asking us to revoke a resolution that we still haven't fully seen the extent and design and work of. So how can you do that? I don't understand.
I'm not asking you to do anything, that's up to you. But what you've got at the moment is a resolution, absolutely, a resolution sitting on the books asking officers to do some work and bring that back, but to close the reserve to vehicle traffic. The notice of motion that you've got on the table at the moment is to revoke that resolution. You've got a mover in Councillor Williamson and a seconder in Councillor Hickling. That has been put and moved and seconded. You now need to take a vote on that. So
we'd like to hear you.
Okay, well,
But let's put the motion to vote, please.
There's not enough information in this notice of motion, so I'll be voting against.
Vote, show of hands. Show of hands.
Do we need to explain?
There's enough information to vote to block it initially.
Voted to block it without any information.
Okay.
Can I just have some clarification, Gareth, please? It's my opinion that, it's my opinion that we have to rescind or accept this notice of motion before we can put a new notice of motion or a new resolution to the council. Is that process?
Yes, you do now, because it's been moved and seconded. If it hadn't been moved and seconded, you could have done an amendment to the...
An amendment, okay.
But for a new one, absolutely, this has to be determined. And the only way you could put a new motion, which is contrary to the previous one, is for this to pass.
Sure. Okay, well, let's vote.
What you're voting on right now is whether or not to revoke that previous resolution. If this was successful, so the resolution was revoked, then you would need to then decide what you do. If it's unsuccessful, the matter ends there, and that December resolution stands.
Okay.
Do we need to have a... Would the councillors like to have a recess altogether?
No, just vote. Let's get on with it, please.
Would some of the councillors like to have a recess? No. I'm just wondering because some may be confused. I'm being honest. Right, okay. Who is in favour of the motion to rescind the vote? 4. Who is against? And I don't know.
So you have the casting vote, Madam Chair.
Come on, Rosie, vote for the community. Vote for the community for a change.
It's not for a change. I've always voted for the community.
Inappropriate.
I know what I want to do.
Do you want to revoke it or not?
We can start again, Rosie, if you revoke.
What do I do?
It's your vote.
I know.
Just give us a second.
Thank you. I do take this seriously. We're just seeking some advice, so sorry about the delay.
Excuse me, Rosie. We've done a lot of work together. Can we be party to the conversations that you're having up there?
No, because it's a legal matter and I just need to seek advice for myself. But thank you, John.
Thank you.
Obviously it's very important, which is why I want to get it right. Okay?
Through the chair, would I be mistaken that if you don't vote, it's 4-4, it will just revert to status quo?
It's, yeah.
Yes.
it's not a matter of whether I'm just deciding what I need to do.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted that It should be in there. Well, it should be portable amendments. That's where we've made a mistake. That's right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice raising.
Right, back again. Okay. Where were we?
So, Madam Chair, at the moment we're in
Keep your sense of humour, people.
We've gone to the vote. It's 4 all at this point by my calculations, waiting for your vote, Madam Chair.
And I vote to revoke.
Thank you.
It's not an easy decision, but I immediately propose a new motion. And what I would like to do is to ask our council officers to come back to us as council with plans, please, with the acknowledging the work that the Kinloch Working Group have done with their plan, to come back to us with their assessment of that. And I would also like the assessment of the original plan that we passed in December, so that we can look over both of those in a logical and measured manner, so that we as councillors can just take a breath, take a breather, take everything into consideration with what we've actually looked at, and just go through it all calmly and carefully and make sure we do it thoroughly and get it right. That's what I would like to do. Do I have a mover for that?
You're the mover.
Oh, rightio.
So the words would have to be something, if I'm hearing you right, Madam Chair, the words would have to be something around you move for officers to bring back a assessment of the Kinloch Action Group plan, including costings and how it will be funded, alongside a plan of the reserve without cars and improvements, along with costings, for future consideration. Would that be? Is that what you're saying?
Without cars?
With and
I
without.
think what I'm hearing from the chairman is she wants both plans done.
Yeah, I want the plan,
No.
the plan that the working group have presented,
Yes.
costed and done correctly.
Yes.
And so that we can see and cost it out and see how it would work. And the other plan that we had with the parking, etc. and yes, which we have not seen, which Councillor Park mentioned, we have no idea of the costings, so we can look over both properly and do a proper workshop, etc. Maybe go out for consultation, whether that's necessary, I don't know.
So you're suggesting that we have one plan with cars on there, one without, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I don't understand the point.
No, could I just make a suggestion, Madam Chair, that we resolve,
No, you've got to move her.
I've got a mover, yes,
call for a second.
sorry.
Can I,
Do I have a second?
can I ask something? Can you put a time frame on it?
Yes.
Because it's gone
Yes.
on and on and on, and
Yep,
both
I
parties
agree.
deserve
I agree.
a rapid resolve.
Yep, I'd like to see the plans and the drawings back with, what's a sensible time frame?
Next meeting.
Probably,
Dennis is going to do a whole lot of work.
yeah, so, I'll say March council meeting.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Good. We can make a decision. Do we need to consult?
Probably.
Um,
A decision and consultation if required.
so it could be done by.
Could be April, not here March.
Be done by, we have an answer by what?
How long that consultation is, I couldn't go that far forward, but we'd get the information to you as fast as we can, probably March or April.
Yeah. So further consultation. We want to get it right, okay? That's what we're saying. We want to make sure we get it right and that everyone is comfortable with it. That's what I want, and I'm sure that's what the councillors want. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Moved it. Do you have a seconder?
Do I have a seconder?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favour?
First, anyone
Right,
wants to speak
sorry,
for
anyone would like to
or
speak to
against?
it or against it?
I'd like just to speak against it in part. I completely agree with you, Madam Chairman, that we need to get some resolution on this that's agreeable to all parties, but I think we need to give council officers a steer, so I would prefer that the resolution says that the Lakefront Reserve remains open for vehicles and that we do take into account and direct officers to do a detailed design based on the key concepts from the Kinloch Working Group that include that sand replenishment, provide protection for the trees and preserve the amenity value of that reserve, but also allow for parking on the reserve in the Esplanade. So I would like us to be able to give the staff a clearer direction and a signal to the community of our intentions rather than a foot in either camp.
The working group's drawings do account for that, I believe. So I think we do have I have made a motion, so can we,
Anyone else want to speak?
anyone else want to speak?
Through the chair, I'd speak against it as well. We're just sending out confusing messages still. We need to be strong and just move forward with this. I'm not saying that the Kinloch plan that's been given to us is necessarily the correct one, but it's certainly got some ideal elements in there that we should be working with. So I can't agree with your entire resolution.
Well, I'm looking to the community to decide, as you have.
Madam Chair, we've just passed a motion.
Speak up.
We've just passed a motion which said agrees to close the reserve to vehicles. We've just passed to revoke that. So why, within your suggested resolution, do we need to take officers' time to actually prepare a plan showing the no vehicles on that particular reserve? I think that's a bit of a waste of time personally. Let's go with the Kinloch Community Plan, let our landscape architect have a really good detailed look at it and come back with a good design, perhaps with some minor element changes, and just deal with that. That's what the community want. That's what they've told us they want. I can't see the point in spending officer time looking at two alternative plans.
Councillor Park?
Yes, thank you. I would support the chair in her and what she said, basically, the only reason I voted against the notice of motion is because it left a void. There was nothing to that. And also because the resolution passed in December, we have not seen the final work that officers were instructed to go away and do. So the decision made to revoke it has actually been done in a flawed process, just the way we passed the resolution with the missing 173 submissions. So I think this is a good compromise and way forward myself.
Can I? Oh, sorry, Councillor Truman.
Yeah, so I too think that this is a good way forward. I think it gives the opportunity. Councillor Hickling talked about this is what the community wants, that this is what one part of the community wants, and there definitely is a strong voice for the other part of the community as well that we've seen in submissions. So all I'm saying is I do believe that this is a way that both sides can have their say.
Through the chair. As much as it pains me to disagree with Councillor Truman, I have to support fellow councillors Jollins and Hickling and Cousins. The fact we've been through 2 rounds of consultation, so I think we're going to sort of really get a bit tiresome of going up to consult about an option of cars being on there as well. So,
and in support of Councillor Williamson, staff have already indicated that they still believe the reserve should be closed to vehicles even after the inclusion of the missing submissions. So I think it's beholden to us to give them some direction, which is to keep the reserve open to vehicles.
And let's reiterate, Mr. Chairman. Just reiterate, Mr. Chairman, is that I understand, and to respect to Councillor Truman, that we have consulted and we're talking about our community. They've spoken. It's 6% versus 94%. It can't be any clearer. Going out for consultation is just muddying waters for no reason. We need to be strong, and good God, I'm tired of it. I'm tired. Let's just move on now.
You don't think I'm tired? I understand and I take on board all of those comments, but this has been a bit of a protracted process, but let's make sure we've got it right. And if it takes a little bit longer, so be it. That's my view. So I feel that we might as well just get it absolutely right. Thank you to the working group for all of their hard work, and we will certainly take what we can and put those drawings to good use and get the council officers to work with them. Sorry, who wanted?
Sorry, Councillor Kenny, as the,
Sorry.
actually as the second, I guess the second to last speaker.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam Chair. I just wanted to speak in support of your recommended resolution. I think as a new councillor to this table, I hear what the other councillors are saying. I wasn't around the last round, and I'm seeing what I'm seeing at the moment. There is 6% of people that are in support of the initial decision. Those 6% of people matter as well. We sit here on behalf of everybody, not just the majority. So I think for the sake of time, in terms of actually for me as a new councillor sitting here to be able to see that the decision we make is the right decision and I'm comfortable within my own skin, then I think it's okay to take a bit more time. I appreciate this has been around the jungle for a wee while, but a little while longer is not going to make a hell of a lot of difference considering how much public opinion there is over this decision, so we have to get it right. So I speak in support.
Okay, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Can we read the resolution out again, please?
That staff bring back an assessment of the Kinloch Action Group plan, costings and funding, alongside a plan of the reserve without cars, improvements and costings to the March, and I've got /April meeting, council meeting.
Yep, sounds, yep. All those in favour? Raise your hands. Against? Carried. Right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Right, thank you for the Deputy Mayor for doing that. Thank you for everyone being with us. Item 4.5. I'd just like to acknowledge the members of the press here. Okay, 4.5, we'll get into it. So,
that's where we select that.
petition Kuratau Amuri erosion.
The process is not wrong. The process is wrong.
Presenting this, Tina.
Yeah, but you said the process was wrong. It's not wrong. The process is perfectly wrong. Yes.
Okay.
But didn't get the process wrong.
All right. Petition, so we've got Mr. Nevilson. And Mrs. Nevilson.
Make people feel uncomfortable, so we won't get the support.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and ladies.
Yeah, you come down.
This is, the item is to receive a petition on the topic of Kuratau Amuri erosion. I'd like to introduce yourselves. So, I know Mr. and Mrs. Nevilson, nice to see you. Sorry, this gentleman.
My name is Mike Bowie. I'm the chairman of the Amuri Kuratau Ratepayers Association.
Good afternoon, Mike. Nice to have you here. Thank you for your patience and waiting for us this afternoon. The floor is yours, and we've allowed 10 minutes, I believe. You've got two presenters? Yeah, so 20 minutes in total. Thank you, Mike. Would you like to lead out, or
I'm
Rod?
I refer to Rod as a lead.
Okay, Rod. Thank you.
So we have before you a written submission for today. It is in bold print and light print. We are not going anywhere near the light print because we can't handle that in 10 minutes, and therefore we're leaving you to read that. In addition to that, we have a yellow print version, which I have, which is an attempt to bring us down to closer to around 12 minutes. And then Michael will then further speak, and we have a series of photographs which the staff have for showing on the screens if we have sufficient time to get through those photographs. So commencing at the paper that you have, and I'll give you a little bit of leading as we go through, but before we start, this is the formal petition, and we present it to you today. Don't need a photo, but it is there for you. The petition, starting at paragraph 1. The petition began on the 3rd of January 2017. As of yesterday, there are now 1,030 petitioners. The petition is in two parts, an online and a more traditional petition. 2. The aim of the petition is to ensure that Taupo District Council and Waikato Regional Council immediately establish an action plan to stem the foreshore erosion experienced at Kuratau Amuri. Erosion rates escalate. Time has run out. There is urgent need for mitigation action to occur April through June 2017 while the lake is at a traditional annual low point. Paragraph 3, first bullet point. Investigation of erosion commenced at Kuratau in 2004 with 13 sites profiled and measured from the river mouth to south of the Amuri water intake plant. There is attachment map A. Fifth bullet point at the bottom of the page. Despite 12 years of assessment, the erosion problem compounds. Part of the problem is that the monitoring reports are not widely read nor reported on publicly. A beach nourishment program of 3,500 metres cubed in 2013 was a useful step, but was too little, too late. It failed to check the situation as there was no supporting mechanisms to hold the sand on shore. Technical assessment at the time indicated that due to differing grain sizes and sand composition, the imported sand would move offshore at double the rate of in situ sand. The consultant's predictions were correct, as 6 of the 23 photos to be shown to you will confirm. Beach nourishment alone is not enough. A long string of consultants' reports progressively prioritise the Kuratau issues, but no serious long-term corrective action has in fact occurred. We now move to paragraph 5. In recent years, the Regional Council has budgeted for erosion expenditure and had cash readily available to financially support any TDC-initiated erosion project to the extent of 45% of the cost. However, TDC has failed to make use of such funds for a Kuratau project. The limited beach nourishment project was in fact largely funded by donated sand from Genesis and by Mercury, Mighty River Power, paying the cartage and spreading bills. Paragraph 6. Attachment 3 to the petition within your agenda sets out erosion losses on the most seriously affected area, the north-east inner stretch of the Kuratau Beach Reserve, where at sections 10 and 11, 60 to 80% of the reserve is now lost. A full summary and detailed data is available for the erosion losses from the river mouth to Tiwai Point, the spit. In particular, at the Amuri Ramp, a series of erosion episodes over several years have been significantly compounded by southeasterly winds at higher lake levels. Erosion can occur in the winter through summer, and as a result of northeast, east and southeast winds, which occur for about 20% of the time. 30% of the time, I'm sorry. The cause of the erosion losses are complex. They include development of land uses, land use conversion of forest to farm, lake levels given use of the lake as a hydropower reservoir since 1941, removal of foreshore vegetation, a TDC management issue, effects of man-made shoreline structures, and effects of natural shoreline fluctuations, including sediment processes, wind patterns, and wave action. However, the foreshore cannot wait for further wind and wave analysis, first programmed in 2008 for 2009-2010. For erosion purposes, there is no immediate apparent need of it, given 20 years of lake-wide research and 10 years of Kuratau monitoring of erosion, 2006 to 2016. Paragraph 8. Another statement is that the power generators manage the lake, or better than, just like natural. However, attachment 2 in your agenda demonstrates a 64% increase in water flows into the Lake Taupo, 1939 to 2007. Subsequently, an issue of lake management practices has arisen from 1999 onwards. Attachment 4 in your agenda focuses on thought on recent changes in management of lake levels, a 5-year period, 2011 to 2016. The comparisons made to earlier research highlight that there is much more water in the lake for increasing long periods of time. In 2016, the duration of the extremely high levels, 46% of the time, was more than double the long-term duration of 20% of the time 1905 to 1941, and a further comparison to 1979 to 1999. Attachment 5. It is a graph printed from Mercury Energy's site. It records the lake has been above 357 MASL from about the 1st of August 2016 to around 16th of January 2017. That is, no fluctuation. Model wave data adequately establishes the probability of a common everyday wave on the lake at Kuretawa of up to 0.9 of a metre for a 2.33 year, which is the deemed annual return period. Many of us with practical experience of the lake can confirm this. Given the wave modelling, the holding of the lake high through periods of high winds, which has an inevitable result, the erosion of the Kuretawa Delta land and the erosion of the Amuri boat ramp access. Cross on page 5. A key factor in management of lake levels is that Mercury sorry.
Yours is wider spacing.
Sorry, a key factor in management of lake levels is that Mercury is under pressure to perform. Lake Taupo accounts for 855 million cubic metres of water within the Waikato hydro storage scheme. That's just a mere 93.4% of the total 915 million cubic metres within the scheme. The 855 million cubic metres is then used 5.8 times annually. The document from where this is extracted goes on to state the aim is to have the lake around 356.8 to 357.0 MASL at the start of each year for drought contingency purposes. The 2016 mission was accomplished as of the 1st of August 2016 and right through to the 1st of January 2017 at the expense of Kuretawa Muri. Paragraph 9. Overall, the crux of the matter is that the combination of the events mentioned plus what may be termed negligence, that is, lack of action by the wider group of stakeholders, including the councils, to mitigate erosion. This situation results in the continuous erosion regime recorded at Kuretawa 1962-63 to 2017, a period of 53 years. The severe worsening 2004 to 2017 with section per annum erosion rates up 140 to 198% is unacceptable. I refer you to attachment 3 in your agenda. The Kuretawa sewage infrastructure and the Amuri boat ramp infrastructure are now at serious risk. The loss of reserve land is substantial. The potential loss of sealed car parking at Mototaiki and Parahope Streets creeps closer day by day. Restoration of the shoreline and revegetation of the reserves must occur. There is real need for a new level of collective responsibility, action, accountability to be established here and now, today, or at least this month. Paragraph 10. 3 basic courses of action appear to exist, but each is unpalatable to respective stakeholders. A. Let the erosion rip. Lose the foreshores, lose the reserves, and retreat the houses from the foreshore. A solution notated by TDC in April 2008. This is not an option acceptable to the petitioners. Quite rightly, this is an issue of private rights. The residents bought and built in good faith in improved subdivisions without local authority warning of risks and hazards and with a community expectation of continuing use of reserves. B. Lower the lake levels, limit power production. But hydropower has its own form of existing use right established by the New Zealand Government in 1941 and indeed is a use further resource consented given specific priority under Section 7 of the RMA 1991. But it has resultant effects, which must be taken into account and mitigated. C. Accept the status quo and resolve the problems. That is, the local authorities need to swallow hard and provide both action and appropriate finance for erosion protection. Invariably, such action will require work on the lake bed. The lake bed, which is a taonga and is land owned by another stakeholder. Approval must be sought for work on that lake bed. In addition, such situation requires good corporate citizenship, recognition of effects and endorsement and financial commitment on the part of the three power generators as the users and beneficiaries of a national water resource. In turn, the community will need to accept constraints as to aspect and use of the reserves as shorelines and vegetation are restored. Paragraph 12. 10 years of procrastination has occurred. This is the prime reason we are here today. What has been too hard to be resolved must be resolved now. The fragile egg timer of the foreshore is running out of sand. The most important amenity of the local district has been and is still being destroyed. To paragraph 14. The community plea today is for council to endorse continued consultation but ensure urgent action and expenditure. To this end, with the consent of your CEO, 6 members of the community have met with TDC and WRC officers and 2 representatives of Tonkin Taylor consultants retained by TDC. The purpose, to advance practical discussion that could lead to more positive erosion mitigation. We trust that Council will provide the CEO with a clear mandate to pursue and accomplish initial erosion contract works at Amuri and Kuratau within April, May, June 2017, the period of anticipated lower lake levels, and to specifically provide for future work in the long-term plan presently under review. The earnest desire of the originator of this position, and indeed the officers of the community organisations to whom Council's response should be directed, is that the local authorities and other Lake Taupo stakeholders urgently and constructively meet their statutory duties and other responsibilities to sustain, maintain and enhance the environment of future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rod.
You like to
detailed submission. Mike.
Thank you. I would like to give a more human side to the story rather than bamboozle you with science. But let me emphasise right at the start that I'm as passionate as Rod is about the situation in Amuri Kuratau. My presentation. Mayor Trawaivas and councillors, thank you for the opportunity to present this petition on behalf of the community and friends of Amuri Kuratau. As I mentioned, I'm chairman of the Amuri Kuratau Ratepayers Association, an organisation representing 974 property owners in the Amuri Kuratau area. Lake Taupo region has been a part of my life since the 1950s. For the last 40 years, my wife Barb and I, our family and friends, have been coming to Kuratau for holidays, summer and winter. It's our Tuenga Waiwai, our place in the world. Mayor Trawaivas, I have heard you fronting the TDC radio advertising campaign a number of times over the summer. Your message resonated with me. After nearly 40 years of holidaying in Kuratau, we moved permanently here, established a successful hospitality business that brings in considerable income and benefit to the region. Barb and I are fortunate to live in Mototaiku Street, Kuratau, already mentioned in Rod's comments. From our property, it's a short 150-metre walk to arguably the best beach in Lake Taupo. The lake is shallow here, allowing kids to develop water skills and safety. Parents come down to the end of Mototaiku Street, sit on the bench under the shade of a willow tree and watch their children, as Mayor Trawaivas says in the radio ad, splash and dash about. It's an idyllic scene. I'd like to show you this idyllic scene. This picture was taken on Waitangi Day Sunday 2000, just 2 days ago. And as you will know, Mr. Mayor, you were down that area, so you know how idyllic the place was. This picture, for those of you who don't know the area, was taken from the beach in front of Mototaiku Street, if you can call it a beach, looking north towards the Kuratau River mouth. The reality is that a few years ago the willow tree was chopped down, while the park bench, complete with concrete base, was so undermined by rising water and wave action that it collapsed into the lake and was taken away by council staff. Regrettably, this image has repeated the length of the Kuratau beach, from T-Ray Point to the Kuratau River mouth, nearly a kilometre of once pristine foreshore and sandy beach. The only silver lining, however dubious, is the distance to the water edge from our property in Mototaiku Street is now probably 10-15 metres shorter. This reality is repeated in Amuri, where sandy beaches are at a premium for such a large holidaymaker catchment. The only easily accessible beach area is a small strip directly north of the Amuri boat ramp. This beach is well patronised by families wishing to swim, sail and picnic. I'd like to show you this idyllic setting. This picture was taken on Wellington Anniversary Week in 2017, again 2 weeks ago. Again, for those of you who don't know the area, this is taken from the end looking south to the Amuri boat ramp and jetty, which you can see in the distance. What we have, I believe, is a collision between man in the form of high lake levels for extended periods, combined with the removal and non-replacement of fauna and flora, both native and introduced, and nature, in the form of winds from the easterly direction and associated wave action. I would describe this as our perfect storm. Mayor Trewadis and councillors, the erosion of the Amuri Kuratau area has to stop. Erosion of our area was a major discussion topic at our recent AGM. We have just presented you with a petition of more than 1,000 signatures raised since our AGM held on the 3rd of January 2017. At this point, I'd like to acknowledge the positive support and input we have received from Greg Hadley of the TDC and Alan Kirk of the Waikato Regional Council. They, however, can only make recommendations. The power to act rests with you. The group of property owners that I represent sincerely hope that you'll act decisively, positively, and above all, quickly. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mike. And thank you, Rod.
So now we'd like to screen some photos. Photo number one is at the Kuratau River mouth in 2017. Next one, thank you. That is the Kuratau beach in 2010 after erosion had commenced. The white is pumice, represents where water has passed over and subsequently receded. Thank you. That is the Kuratau beach in 2011 after the more settled position after the 2011 storm. Next one. That is the Kuratau beach in June 2013. What you're looking at there is the beach replenishment, and you will note that it reaches out to the willows that originally stood about 6 or 7 metres inside the shoreline. Thank you. This is the Kuratau beach in January 2017, and the bulk of that beach replenishment has disappeared. Thank you. We now move to Parahope car park area. That is the beach replenishment taking place in June 2013, looking south. That is the same area looking north, and you can see the extent and the depth of the beach replenishment that was carried out. This is the same area looking north, following the previous photo at 17th of January 2017. The sand is gone and if you go there today, you'll find that the car park is within 2 metres of the shoreline. Same area, stressing the point that I've just made, we're coming up to the barriers of the car park. Thank you. That's a little dark, but it's the manhole at the north of the Parahope car park, awash in 2017 on the 21st of January. And that is the same area of the manhole, the sewer manhole, that is now on the beach edge today, and you can see the wash that has come across by a substantial number of metres to the line of the car parked in the back of the photo. Next section. This sequence of photos is storm action on the Curatao Beach. That is to 24th of August 2008. The static lake level was 315.716 metres above sea level. The forecast wind was 15 knots. January 2011, 3 years later, the static lake level was higher than 357.25 in that photo. Same storm, same situation. Next one is the 22nd of August 2014. This photo was taken by Will Shiler, one of our local community. The significance of that photo is that wave action, which is primarily from the southeast, is at a lake level of lower than 356.5. You have to transpose that sort of shot onto a lake level of 357.250. And the further photo of Will Shiler's is a similar sort of situation. The lake level is no greater than 356.5. You can see the impact on the Curatao jetty. The next series of photos are at Amuri, and they are more recent ones. That's looking towards the Amuri jetty from the north on the 4th of October. And you can see the erosion there, and we move to a closer up shot. Same date, but just a more direct shot of the erosion. Next one, thank you. This one is at 17th of January 2017, looking from the ramp northwards. This area of land is extensively used by people as a walking track, as a bike track, and for aquatic situations. If we can move to the next photo, the type of craft that often are launched here are this sort of boards and small yachts. That's 17th of January. Thank you. And that's another one of 17th of January of the effect that has impacted the Amuri ramp area. And we've only got a few metres left to put in some containment. The general advice of Tonkin and Taylor, whom we met with just a few days ago, is that there is going to have to be some form of hard works in the area, that we're beyond using soft engineering, and they're away penciling in on this at the moment, and we expect to meet with them further in the company of Greg Hadley and Alan Kirk, and we acknowledge the fact, as Michael has already done, they are cooperative in their and helpful in their understanding. But we do have to move this decision on. It's been 10 years plus in the making, and it should have happened a long time ago. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Rod. And thank you, Mike. Any questions or queries for the councillors of Rod and Mike? Councillor Cousins.
Chair, Rod, Nolan, Michael, thank you so much for your presentation today. I don't want to make light of the situation, but you think you've got problems at Kinloch, you can clearly see that Kuratau is by far a terrible situation. I've followed this along with a great level of interest, as I'm sure Tonganui has, and so is probably Andy and the community board, previous and present. I don't know what to do from here, Gareth, other than for me to say that I fully support measures to be undertaken, or something to be done, and that we commit staff resources to this and sort this out. That's all I can ask.
Councillor Collins. Councillor Park?
Yeah, I support what Councillor Cousins has said, but also with this petition, are you presenting this personally to Waikato Regional Council as well, or is it up to us to pass?
No,
what the process is?
We will possibly leave the petition open, but we have had the first sweep through. We have booked an appointment with the Catchment Committee for Lake Taupo of Waikato Regional Council, and this material that we have will go to them, possibly with some additional comments that are more particular to the Regional Council. But on the 1st of March we will do that. We have secondly arranged with Andy Hema to go before the Tongariro Turangi Community Board in a week's time, so that they too are brought up to date.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kingi.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rod. And if it's put into the presentation in most of it, Mike, congratulations on the new post. I spent a morning with Rod and Andy, Greg and Ellen out there end of last year, I guess, to have a look at I guess with my own eyes what was actually going on. I knew there was an erosion issue out there. I didn't realise how extensive it is, and so I do fully support what they're talking about in terms of bringing it to our attention. I suppose it's one of trying to find where to from here, like Councillor Cousins has said. It's a big undertaking. The replenishment project, I think, initially may have targeted certain areas, but now we're talking about an erosion issue that stretches the width and breadth of that whole sort of point, and so it's a massive undertaking. So certainly, we need to get our heads around the table and really work this one out. It's important that Rod identifies the other significant stakeholder in the room, which is Tuwharatua, which we've spoken about previously. And so I believe, obviously the way forward will be to have them at the table to discuss how we fix this, or how we start to fix this. But I just commend your efforts, and I support what you're saying, Andy.
Okay. Thank you once again. So, Mr. CEO, we can advance this. Obviously, I think you're getting a lot of nods around the room here. It's an important issue to be fixed sooner than later. So
it's getting advanced. All we're asking you to do today is to receive the petition, which is the resolution there. The officers are working with Tonkin Taylor, who are, as Rod said, are already doing the designs as we speak, which will come back to the community for their views, because a lot of this has to be community driven in terms of what they want to see there, in terms of hard structures, soft combination of, that makes a big difference. So that work's happening now, and will continue to do so, and it is happening as fast as it possibly can do, with Waikato Regional Council and others.
So through the chair, no distinct timeframes?
My understanding is Tonkin Taylor's report is due back within the next 2 weeks, was my understanding.
Can I ask that you perhaps keep council?
Absolutely.
Can be great.
Does that include costing? Sorry. Yep.
I also ask, resource consenting for keeping the lake levels as is due for review when?
It's a Waikato Regional Council matter. I'm looking at Anne McLeod at the back of the room. Anne, are you aware of you will be aware of the consent conditions?
Yes, I am aware of the reconsenting, and 2018 is when the process for determining whether or not the conditions need to be reviewed. So it's not that's the nature of what it is. That's the determination, is whether or not it needs to be reviewed.
So through the chair, who decides whether it needs to be reviewed? Waikato Regional Council is it, or?
Yes.
But like that's all with us.
Yep.
So So we can.
No, not necessarily. So it's a decision purely of Waikato Regional Council. The last time the review came up, Taupo District Council did take a position on it, and that position was that we advocated for a review to be undertaken. We advocated through the way of a letter and discussions between the then mayor and the chair, etc. In fact, 3 years before that, we also took a big group of interested people on a bus tour up to try and advocate as well. But it is a decision of Waikato Regional Council themselves as officers.
So there seems to be general consensus by council to change the level of the lake. It's called this untold damage around the whole periphery. You don't have a say in having this reviewed.
No, so what this council has always said is that we haven't gone that far. So to say that the lake level should be changed, but we've always said it should be reviewed. So it should be looked at. We haven't taken a view on whether it's right or wrong, but that it should at least be undertaken a public assessment process. But you're right, it's not TDC's, Taupo District Council's role, it's Waikato Regional Council. We don't have a formal legal or moral role in that position.
Councillor Williamson.
Through the Chair, thanks Rod and Ollie and Mike. I note in there the Lake Taupo Foreshore Erosion Physical Works Program is obviously a high priority. It's been recognised, acknowledged. And there is I notice the TDC has a resource consent for beach nourishment till 2032 for up to 40,000 cubic metres of sediment. I think as Gareth was suggesting, obviously with Tonkin Tail, it's looking at the best options with hard structure, soft options. And I had this discussion with Alison previous and John. So just getting the right mix, the right.
Okay, suggested recommendation there. Thank you very much, Rod. Did you want to?
Can I just make one more comment? The intent is to proceed now in the context of the resource consents that exist and in the context of everything to do with Te Whaotao's title. We think that there is a good case for you dealing with the current situation. Whatever lies out in the future lies out in the future. But if you wait any longer, there won't be anything to deal with.
Thank you, Rod. I appreciate that. And thank you, Mike. Thank you, Nolene. Thank you for coming up today and waiting. Suggested recommendation there. Councillor received. Moved by Councillor Kingy, seconded by Councillor Cousins. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
It's against? Carried. Item 4.6 is adoption of the draft Freedom Camping bylaw for consultation. Okay. Good afternoon, Jane.
Hi.
The floor is yours.
I'll take the report as read. There's just a couple of little editorial amendments that we intend to make to both the statement of proposal and the current draft bylaw. These are just for clarification. The bylaw one will be amending Taupo District in Clause 6 to local authority area, and the other is to Clause 7 and just removing reference to non-self-contained vehicles because that just is superfluous to requirements. The other two amendments are to the statement of proposal. One is to the first paragraph, which is on your page 82, and instead of to allow for, it will be to amend that to manage, and the other is basically just a spelling mistake. So.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Thank you, Jane. Any questions of Jane?
Through the chair.
Mr. Jollins.
Thank you. It just occurred to me, Jane, and up to be held wrong, the statement of proposal that we're going out as part of our comms piece, we talk about when we identify the proposed areas, what the pros and cons are. I'm just concerned that we're predetermining the process. I mean, can we just put these apps, identify pros and cons? Because I thought of some other pros and cons just looking through it, and it doesn't speak to open-minded. Like for me, having Rickett Street potentially causes traffic issues and other safety issues around the school bus pickup, and none of that's even highlighted as a pro or a con. It's just a comment.
Absolutely. We've kind of drafted around the specific areas that were highlighted in the Act, but yeah, no, traffic concerns are definitely a very good concern to be talking about.
And I think from my perspective, from a comms point of view as well, that Freedom Camping Working Group was instrumental in setting up the framework on which we identified these areas, and I think you just need to highlight that up a bit. It's in there, but it's buried, because there were some key points on which you made your decisions, which were away from the lakefront, close to the CBD, and that doesn't come across really clearly in this.
Not a problem. We'll definitely work on that.
Thank you.
Councillor Truman.
Yeah, so I was just wanting to talk about the maps. So for Mangitino areas, yeah, I'm reading this wrong or they're showing up wrong, but it says on page 57, it says Lake Maraetai Area 1 self-contained. But the plan, hang on a minute. It says...
So page what? 67.
57.
So, yeah. So it says a lake, page 57, so at the bottom it says...
67.
57.
57. It says Lake Maraetai Area 1 and Area 2.
Oh,
and I think on the Schedule 1 on page 66, I think those are supposed to be two different areas, but they just...
Oh, yes, they probably are, and there's probably another map, hopefully. Hopefully, she says laughingly. There should be two maps. So one is like, there's a little, it's very hard to see, but there's a little outline of yellow. So that's basically Area 2 on that one, and there should be another map. Has it got dropped off?
77.
77. All good. It's still there. Yep, so that, and then that's basically Area 1. Yep.
So we've got a couple of places where we've got two areas in very close proximity, and what we've done from ease of map production is have both those areas on the same map. If I'm hearing you right, it would be a lot cleaner if we had two different maps.
I don't see the yellow. Yeah, I didn't see the yellow, so I was thinking with others. And then also for Whakamaru Domain, that might be the same then too.
Yes.
Because yeah,
Yes.
I just thought it's the same map.
There's two, yes. There's two areas. So there's, one of the issues we've had, particularly with the Whakamaru ones, was because there's actually an area that is deemed to be allowed to be camping, and then there's an area that people camp a lot and was actually designated kind of camping by us, which is confusing.
Councillor Heckling?
Yeah, just two comments, Your Worship. The AC Baths one, we've talked about the extension of the event centre. Would we have to change the bylaws if we extended the event centre, which would encroach on where the parking is?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're meaning there, but...
Well, you've got the red line right up to the concrete apron.
Right, oh, okay.
There's been proposals to extend by one bay. I know it's not, we've just talked about it, we've not done anything. Would we then have to change the bylaw if we...
Yes, we would.
So can we reduce that area down so it accommodates that extension if and when it takes place?
I guess from a practical perspective, if you've built a building over the top of those car parks, no one's going to be Freedom Camping there.
Well, I know that.
And what you could then do is subsequently pick up that change through any subsequent review of the bylaw.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be better to do it now? We've talked about extensions.
And I guess we're looking for some direction from you about what's the likelihood around those extensions. If that's something you see as being highly likely, let's remove that from the
Do we want
the
that
bylaw.
there
If
anyway?
it's-
Pardon?
Do we want it there anyway?
Well, I don't feel we want it there, but that's only my opinion.
So what you say?
I mean, the working groups identified these sites, so I'm not really opposed
You
to
just
that.
reduce that size down a bit.
I guess
I
What
think
page is
we should, personally.
well, through the chair, I mean, as part of that working group, this is actually a draft bylaw, it's going up for consultation.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but sooner than if we think we're going to extend the event centre, then surely we should
Just
get the time right.
We could limit that to the parking bays that essentially front the AC bars.
Exactly, yeah.
So reduce it in that regard.
Yeah, yeah. And the other one was, there's no mention of Kinloch, and we've had a huge debate over Kinloch today. I wouldn't like to see camper vans on the lakefront anywhere in Kinloch. I thought they were supposed to be on the domain.
We kind of slightly covered that off with the 13th of December paper. Officers did go away to look for Kinloch because we were directed by the Mayor to go and look at sites. There were no sites that kind of, covered by the philosophy, which was off the lakefront. And then we were very restricted of where we could go, and there were very few car parks pretty much in Kinloch to allow it.
How are we going to police it, because camper vans will go down there?
If there's no bylaw.
Yeah.
There'll be a bylaw.
Yes.
Okay, done, all right.
And it's a residential area, which effectively the draft bylaw is prohibiting.
So we're basically saying there'll be no possibilities of motorhomes camping at Kinloch.
Pretty much.
Sorry, very outside of the ones that you have approved in the management plan.
I was going to say, because
Specifically with those events.
one option's like on application, isn't
They
it?
don't provide for on that domain through the Zoo management plan. That
Yeah.
will remain.
Yes.
So it's just that
Yeah.
other camping.
There'll be no freedom camp. Yep, okay, thank you.
Status quo really.
Yeah, okay.
So if they're allowed for in a reserve management plan, the bylaws covers it.
Yep, fully aware of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, just one last question from me. Sorry for Jane. I noticed on central government's interesting website that they have the other day that they're doing a whole review of freedom camping, and they've got a working group and they're setting up best practices and all sorts of things. How does the work that we're doing align with some of the recommendations that are coming through from there?
I looked at it. Yes, I've been party to that working group. So basically, we've been adhering to most of the work that's going on through that. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think it's worth remembering that the Freedom Camping Act is a reasonably permissive piece of legislation. And that's really our starting point. What we've done through the discussion over about the last year is try and find a point where the community is feeling more comfortable with the management of freedom camping. That's going to cause some real tension through this consultation process, because we'll have parts of the community who don't think we've gone far enough, and we'll have other parts of the community, like the NZMCA, who may think we've been too restrictive in terms of our application of that legislation. To be honest, that's something we're just going to have to work through in terms of the submissions and the hearings process as we try and balance those different views.
Thank you, Nick. Has there been any further progress on the amended classification of self-contained vehicles from the motor?
So that's actually currently out for public consultation as we speak, and in fact it was just today I've been reviewing that quite extensively. So pretty much they are trying to make it more prescriptive around what is considered an actual contained toilet on the actual van itself. Having said that, there is one little minor strange thing that they're talking about, outside of the van with a tent, which I intend to sort of bulk at.
So there should be something further to that by the time we get the consultations finished and it comes back for deliberations.
Yeah, it's about mid-February that the consultation closes, and then they'll have a process of, similar to ours.
Thank you.
Just a reminder as well, from a communications perspective, this will be going out in parallel with the Reeds Farm Reserve Management Plan. So you will be able to deal with both of those issues side by side in terms of submissions and hearings.
Councillor Truman?
The Kinloch domain, is there, like in that car park, is there not an area there that was deemed, that's not on the lakefront, to be able to...
And we did look at that, but that would also include an amendment to the reserve management plan, which again is not not without, I mean, we would definitely go and look at amending the reserve management plan if that's what you would like.
That's the reason why.
Through this
Previous conversations with him have always been around, they were happy with one-off events, but this consultation process will flush that out. So if he comes out and says they do want it, then that's within your power to then make the decision.
Okay, all right, suggested recommendation there, 1, 2, 3 and 4, correct? No change to those? No. Okay, we go out and find out. Do I have a mover please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. 4.7, Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr Green.
So, Your Worship, this is the essentially the financial report for the month of December. I'll probably look to Neil to walk you through it. Neil and Dennis.
Who's not gone? Up here.
Councillor Harvey, just to give you a heads up, I've got to take an urgent call about 5 to 4, so I'll just have to disappear again, so you have to come. Sorry about that. All right.
Casting vote again.
Nothing contentious. Right, Mr Ward, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Worship and councillors. So, as it's in the cover item there, we've basically just got the financials and some project reports for this report, and the full performance reporting will come through at the February meeting. So if we start off with the statement of financials, key thing there is, as in before Christmas, the pretty well high-level operating expenditure on track with the increases in revenue, particularly around the regulatory income, some hailage sales, transportation revenue, venue revenue, some additional lease revenue in the landfill, so stronger revenue flows there, 1.15 million, and everything else pretty well tracking on track at a high level. So I'll take that side of it as read, unless you've got any questions on there. Then we have, through the various activity reports there, we've broken that down obviously by activity, and you'll see the where they're tracking. Probably before we move on to the activity project reports, which will be a combination of Nick and Dennis, I'll just see if there's anyone who got any questions on the
financials.
December results. And sorry, the forecast will come through in the 28th February meeting, so that'll be the January results with the forecast based off the December actuals. Didn't quite get it for this report, but that'll be through at the 20th February meeting.
Okay, thanks very much, Neil.
Nothing gone there. Okay, so I'll move on to the project reports.
Yes, I guess just like to highlight perhaps either the orange or the reds in the various activities. In transport, the footpath from Whareroka back to Rainbow Point, we'd had a look at that, put it out to tender. The tenders came in very expensive. We only got 2 tenders, and it's something we're experiencing at the moment. We're not getting a lot of interest in our tenders. So we've gone back to the drawing board with that one to see how we can still achieve the goal of getting the footpath and minimising the costs. So we're working on that at the present time.
Dennis, is that because everyone's got enough work on the plate and so they get to pick and choose? Or
Yeah, well, not only are they picking and choosing, but they choose how much they want to put on, what price they want to put on it. So even if you get a couple of tenders, that doesn't necessarily mean those tender prices are great.
Right, so it's not that we haven't sort of looked at the correct sort of engineer's estimate and things, it's just the opposite?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had about 3 or 4 tenders over the last 2 or 3 months where that sort of thing's happened, where we've only got 1 or 2 tenders. And so we're looking at stuff and then going back out to the market.
Something that's happening regionally and nationally as well. My colleagues and myself have been noticing it right around the country.
Thank you.
So in the wastewater treatment plant, we've been reporting for a number of months now with the Turangi wastewater treatment plant. That project was aligned with the dredging that was going to occur in the Takanu tailways. DIA don't anticipate getting that contract underway until next summer, and so until they get the material onto site we can't do anything with it, so we anticipate that we won't be able to do anything potentially until the summer after next. Kinloch wastewater disposal field, there's been some delays there getting information together. We have got the detailed design of that disposal field, which would be on the golf course that council owns. During the consenting process there were I think 3 submitters. We need to go back to those submitters and work through them the final solution and make sure they're happy with it, and we're just having some time delays getting that information together for them. What else have we got? I think everything else is pretty much on target.
I'll do it. Carry on, Dennis, sorry. It's like changing chairs.
Yeah, no, that's all right. If there's any questions, happy to take them.
Rosie's got that excited with previous items, she's come back. Excuse me.
Oh, he's going to take
Okay, if there's no questions on the project, sorry, Zane?
Just a random question actually about water, and I've missed the page for that one. And just, you might not even be able to answer. But I don't notice, I meant to ask about it, the Motuapa, when they did the marina development, they put water through the township there, through the marina. Was there much discussion in regards with us about them tracking water through the village at Motuapa?
They sought approval to do that, and they undertook that at their cost. A number of the property owners were able to avail themselves of that pipeline and have contributed towards the cost of connection.
I was just wondering, do we miss an opportunity there to go a little bit further with it? I don't know, it's like...
I covered those who, you remember people, there was a couple of submissions a few years ago? Those people, that pipeline.
I went down, I was told about it afterwards, I saw the blue pipe going down, all the digging up, I didn't know what it was, and then I see it was water, and I heard a few people had connected up to it. I think we just maybe missed an opportunity there, that was all. That's one. Just wanted to ask the question.
If we move on to the Treasury report then, so this Treasury report is of December. Pretty well, you'll see there from your ticks and your crosses, predominantly everything's going well. Probably just draw your attention on the 3rd page there to the it's the top right hand graph. It's funding and liquidity risk. You'll see there the kind of tan and yellowish type bars in the 2 to 3 year column. That's what we call one of our evergreen, 40 million evergreen facility with one of the banks. That's basically renewed about this time of the year, so that would, in the next report, I'd expect to see that coming through to the 3 to 4 years. So you'll see those percentages change around between the 0 to 3 and the 3 to 5. So that's just ensuring that we've got liquidity risk covered. Pretty well everything else is in compliance there, other than the standard items which we've gone through before. So any questions on that?
Cool. No questions on that, Madam Chair. I'll probably take this opportunity as well just to introduce you to Kevin Strongman, for those who haven't formally been introduced. So I would have done it at the front of the meeting, but obviously we had other pressing matters on our agenda at that point. But so Kevin's our Group Manager, Operational Services. I'm not sure, Kevin, because Kevin's very first committee meeting that he had was the Fred Committee last week as well, which was a rather hot meeting. So I'm not sure if it's Kevin or if it's you, but all of a sudden we've had some fairly interesting meetings in Kevin's presence. But Kevin, I'll let you just introduce yourself for just a quick introduction.
Okay, kia ora. So Kevin Stroman, Operational Services Group Manager. I've come to here from Gisborne, worked over there for the last 11 years, but prior to that I was based in Taupo. So I worked for the council for a brief stint, just under a couple of years, looking after water and wastewater. And before that I worked at Cheels for 6-7 years, doing development, power stations and everything like that. So moved back to Taupo for family reasons, to be closer to family, and because it's a great place to live. So looking forward to working with everyone. And it's been a busy couple of weeks with the Fred and this meeting today. So Gareth has assured me this is not the norm. So,
that's the Chief Executive's report, Mr. Chairman. So happy to answer any questions that anybody may have. Be received.
Right. We have a mover.
Yes, I move.
Thank you.
Second.
And a seconder.
Yep.
Carried. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. Right. 4.8, Great Lake Taupo Hockey Club. Tina.
Yeah, I'll take the report as read, and I've got Robin Harrison, who's the chairperson, and Paul Wilson, who's the treasurer, here behind me if there's any questions that they might be able to assist with.
Right. Any questions? Yes. Councillor Cousins.
Yeah, I just have one question. I haven't been up there, I haven't seen it, but how much is open to the public? This is here, there's a small amount that's open to the public. How much?
I'm not sure.
The gym itself,
But
we keep it locked, just for security purposes, but, yeah.
it says part of here, it says part of it's open to the public for use. That's what it says in the report.
What is that?
I can hire it.
Public as in the fully incorporated hockey club, and it's hired out to other hockey organisations like New Zealand Hockey, Midlands Hockey to use as well. So it's not only Taupo Hockey that uses it, it's a facility for anyone affiliated with New Zealand Hockey that use.
All right. Okay. So then I've got the wrong end of the stick, because basically I thought it said that was you kept the part open purposely for public use.
No, we have it locked up purely for
That's
security reasons.
There's been international events there as well in terms of the hockey championship stuff as well. So I guess that's probably what it's referring to more by public.
Rather than it's more club based than just open public.
Yep.
We are getting more and more requests to use it for other sports. In the under-19 rugby was here, they used it to train on for the teams and have booked it again for next year, I believe. So yeah, it's starting to get used a bit more by other sports.
Just a question from me through the chair, please. Just in terms of the program for replacement, obviously it's signalled for now. What's the average life of the turf, and what will you be doing when this comes around again?
The average life, it's normally 10 to 12 years, but we've managed to limp this one along for about 15 years, just by, there was a smaller amount of use when we first put it down, and then we've had a carpet layer that's in the club go and fix it for us by stitching it up and gluing it down, and we've just limped it along. All the turf fees we receive for the turf, we keep aside in a separate account, but it's not enough to replace it at the end of the day. So as this has come around, we've been relying on Lotto grants and other grants to replace it. And that's probably all we can do in terms of next time it comes around.
Sure.
Hopefully the cost of putting the turf down keeps coming down. It has come down since the first main.
Yes, technology catches up.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's only so much we can do.
We have got a levy in the fees, but it's quite minor, because otherwise you're just going to price people out of the game, especially the primary school, secondary school age group, which is, if you priced it in, you wouldn't have any members. You priced them out of the game, which would be the last thing we want to see.
I know we've all driven past there at 3 o'clock during the week, it's packed with children playing. Yeah. Great.
I switch out to correct myself. Where I thought I read, we have a spot that is open to the whole Taupo community. It actually reads, we are a sport that is open to the Do not skim read.
And through the chair, can I just remind councillors that this is actually a council asset?
Yeah, but it isn't it?
What we're trying to do here is treat it the same as what we would do with the hockey, the cricket wicket or any other sporting venue that we have.
Through the chair, just following up what Gareth's suggesting, it's a great major asset to our town. I mean, my girls, if I've got a conflict of interest, my girls play hockey on there, so. When it first opened back in the early 2000s, so to see the quality of of all the players, and we see through Sports Advisory Council, all the kids playing at a higher level, so it's great for the town, great for the sport.
It's a good facility.
Sorry, just one last question from me regards the financial implications, which I guess is a question to the officers, is it's not currently included in the annual plan, but yet could be funded from renewals. So if it's funded from renewals, what doesn't happen, or how's that going to work? Help me understand.
Our renewals budget for the parks and reserves, we don't actually break it down 100% to each particular park or reserve, because you don't know what the climate's doing and the level of usage and vehicles. But we have just over $2 million a year in our renewals budget for parks and reserves, and there'll be sufficient in it to
take care of this and keep the workflow going. Okay, thank you.
It is an urgent nature.
So, sorry. Yes.
I'd like to move the suggested resolution, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Right, okay. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Carried. Right. 4.9. Home stretch. Welcome back. Have a drink now? Nice. Nice to have that,
Afternoon again, councillors. This is a relatively short paper, which is unusual for me. It's relatively straightforward in that the Waikato plan has progressed to a point where they've essentially used up their available budget and they're seeking additional funding from the partner councils. You'll remember this is something we've been involved in for about 3 years. It involves all the other councils in the Waikato except for Thames Coromandel District Council, who have observed but haven't been actively involved in the development of the plan. Essentially, they're looking for about $150,000, and our contribution is $13,500 of that. That's based on a per capita basis, just using the funding approach they used at the start of the project. The only other thing I want to clarify was in terms of funding, there's no budget set aside for this. However, the expectation is, given we're talking a reasonably small amount, that we would be able to find that within the general operating expenses of the business. Happy to take any questions.
I think it's interesting that Hamilton City Council are only supporting it by officer time as opposed to financial. That's interesting, being as probably they're the biggest council in the district.
Yes.
So 18,000 plus officer time. I'm told that it's about one full-time equivalent.
Yes, Christine.
I'm not against the funding at all, but how on earth does it take 3 years to create a plan? And I don't think I want to see it, because it must be like that, and therefore it'll be a dust gatherer.
To be honest, I think the reason it's taken 3 years is because it started with a stack of information like that, and we've got it down to a very thin document. So the summary document is something like 8 pages.
do they?
Wow.
Yes,
Right.
but the filtering process has taken a while.
I feel better.
A question from me, through the chair, thank you to Mr Carroll. I do recall some time ago those that were running the Waikato Spatial Plan saying that they wouldn't ever be coming back for any extra costs. So this seems to me to be a sinking hole over 3 years with real lack of traction, and I would be voting against it should it go to vote.
The challenge they've got at this point in the project is that they've essentially done almost all of the work and got to just about the finish of the drafting of the plan. What there's been some debate about is whether the original project budgets took proper account of this consultation requirements, and there are views either way. In essence, we've got to a point where there's virtually a draft plan, and if the council's walked away from it now, all that 3 years of work and investment would be lost. For the sake of an extra $150,000 to move it through that consultation process, you will at least get to a point where you have a plan that's collectively bought into by the Waikato. But that's very much...
You have to acknowledge, though, that $75,000 for a special consultative process for a project this significant is very light. I think it's light. I can't see how they're going to do it, and I think they'll be back again and again, and I think it's time to signal no.
There's a heavy emphasis on using web-based consultation and on having a very streamlined approach to the hearings process. Potentially using a subcommittee of the joint committee to actually hold those hearings in Hamilton. So there's very much an emphasis on a light approach to that consultation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nick.
Yes.
Through the chair.
John.
Yeah, obviously, I hear what Councillor Johns is saying, but I think at this point, I think we're probably better to be part of the conversation still, rather than sort of divorcing ourselves from it.
I mean, I think we're all probably doubtful of the usefulness of it.
Can we say absolutely no more? This is...
I think we said that last time.
Can we offer less?
Can we offer a bit?
Can we negotiate?
Come never meet again.
Could offer less, but what that would do would leave those other councils to pick up the balance, essentially. So,
do we care?
By doing that, you would be essentially saying, I'm sort of in the tent, but sort of not. I think it's really, for the sake of 13,500, it's really, are you in or are you not, on a matter of principle. We certainly could signal that don't bother coming back anymore. That could be done, and then that we wouldn't even, as officers, we wouldn't even bring it back up to you. But.
Madam Chair, I have sorry.
Through the chair, I'm just thinking they're going to come back for us for more. I'm not seeing any quantifiable outcomes. I know you probably have, Nick, but really I just think this is a talk fest that's just run out of steam. That's what I see. So I'm not a supporter of it.
Yeah, I'm of a similar view. I sort of, reading the background, it talks about it being creating a plan that allows, councils in the Waikato region to have a single voice to government on significant issues. Well, 3 years after the fact, the government have probably changed their mind, so we'll have to do it all again. So I do actually support what Councillor Jollins and Cousins are saying, sceptical about the fact that by the time we get this, the goalpost is probably already moved.
Any other comments?
Full and final payment.
Full and final offer. Can we write that on the contract?
Sorry, just through the chair, I don't really mind which way this goes, because I sit on it as the alternate to the mayor, so I hardly have to go. I do know that Nick has put in a lot of time. For the sake of the small amount, I agree with Councillor Hickling that if this is it,
full and final.
because it's come to this, we're so close to the end, and I mean, yes, it's been 3 years, but it got off to a very rocky start, and things were changed and whatnot. So yeah, I honestly don't mind either way. It saves me a trip to Hamilton if I have to go. For the sake of
That's how much bigger she
Gosh, it must be.
Well, a couple of good shots.
Do I have a conflict of interest?
No, you don't. All right, do we have a mover?
I'll move it. I'll move that we approve the unbudgeted
Councillor
expenditure.
Williamson, do we have a seconder? Councillor Trimmer. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Aye. Please record. Thank you. Right. Moved, carried.
Don't run away. 6 months. Oh, maybe Gareth's right.
Right.
In fact, I'm going to flick it straight at him.
4.10. Hello, Mr. Ward, Mr. Carroll, again.
I'm trying to throw this back at the chief executive, but I'm seeing how it's going to go.
Do you see it?
I love it. So hopefully you remember we've had some discussions in the past about the Local Government Excellence Program. It got a bit like the Waikato plan, it got away to a bit of a rocky start, but they've done some significant work in terms of improving the quality of the program and the way they audit and measure. A number of councils have been through that process already, and there's been some good learnings from that, which again has improved the program. We've had some discussion with LG&Z around our involvement and the timing of that involvement. There is a significant amount of work for council officers, but also for elected members in terms of contributing to the audit process that must be undertaken. From our perspective, we did not believe we had the resources in place to be able to do that in the short term. Frankly, we've got key staff such as Dennis and Neil and myself who are so heavily involved in preparing for the LTP that we didn't have the capacity to deal with this in the next month or two. What we've suggested to LG&Z is that we would very much like to be involved in the program going forward, but that we see it as something that we would look to engage with them on more like sort of September this year. That essentially moves us out of being a member or a foundation member into just being a member of the program. Doesn't make a big difference in terms of your involvement and what you get out of it. It just changes that branding from their perspective.
Yes, from my perspective, benchmarking is a great thing, I think, and I'm certainly not scared of that and scared of the results of that, but it's really about, at the moment, about the commitment that we've got with everything else that's on and whether or not we can really give it due diligence or justice. And I guess I've also got half a mind to work that you guys have already started to talk about in terms of your visioning exercise. So a big part of this is about you as an elected group of elected members and how coherent you are and what your vision is. I honestly, I'm not scared of the results. I honestly don't know if you're quite there yet, and that you're only just starting those discussions. So I think come September you'll be in a much better place to be able to show that cohesiveness. So part of me says, what have we got to lose? Let's do it, because you've got to start somewhere, and at least gives you a starting point. But I think realistically, given the amount of money and time and effort that it's going to take, it's probably best to wait for that 6 months and then give it another shot. But we do have things to do in mind.
So you're saying wait 6 months, you're saying?
Yeah, sort of
So say no now?
Say no now,
Cool.
yeah, and if we were
Sure.
to do it, in sort of September, October, end of this year, which is the next opportunity if we don't do
Sure.
it.
So yes, the second tranche, you've got your foundation member tranche, which is happening now, and the pilot councils have gone through, and then we would not be a foundation member, as Nick said, there's marginal branding around that. We would move into the second tranche, which starts around September, October.
Sure. I mean, from my perspective through the chair, I think it's a matter of priorities and where we need to focus our efforts. We've got significant work coming up, as we discussed today, with the LTP District Plan 2050, and we've got some work ourselves to do as governance. I think we should focus our efforts on that and give this one a miss for now.
Yes, sorry.
I think it's a very healthy thing to do, and if you don't do this project, there is an opportunity to do it privately. It just costs you, that's all. Well, that's not all. Sometimes it's got more credibility than something like this, but I support it, and I support it in September. And when you hear a group like the Kinloch Group say what they said about our staff today, to me that's unacceptable. It's not the way I've found it at all since I've been here, and I'd love to have us with something that measures that properly and that goes and measures it again and again and again. It doesn't have to be the same process, but I'm in favour of it for that reason. I hated that today. It was unwarranted and untrue.
Sorry.
Yay.
Same.
Tired.
You'll have to speak. My eyes are not working.
It's not you. Your eyes aren't working.
No.
I'll get your fatter glasses. I'm a bit confused with a couple of things. I haven't seen any of the 91 measures. Has anyone else? Do we?
We're going to park it for now, I think.
So if 67 councillors sign up, that's $1 million. That's going to go into the kitty. Who's looking after the kitty? So the LGNZ are going to hold the purse string and employ more bureaucrats to judge us.
Okay, so LGNZ has established the program. There's an independent advisory board that runs the program. So they've got a board of directors structure, and then they have the assessors, which the board or LGNZ, the board employs the assessors. LGNZ via council contributions funds both the board and the assessors. So the importance of that is to keep absolute arm's length from LGNZ and councils, so it's a truly independent. So Toby Stevens is the chair of the board, and we can get the names of all those two. I don't have them off the top of my head, sorry, apart from Toby. Yeah, so it is at arm's length, and fundamentally you cannot, a bit like the Standard & Poor's rating, you cannot challenge a rating. Whatever rating they give you, that's it, whether you like it or not.
They can spend the money on people and pay them as much as they like, and we've got no control over them. Other than
that's the whole point of independence.
No, I understand that, but there's no management of it as to who's spending the money and how it's to be spent.
Okay, so it's
fast travel for all we know, couldn't it? I'm not saying that we don't have any control over it. I'm not saying a business plan or how this is all going to work. We just have to get 15 grand to a pool of funds, to a pool, which will be $1 million a year.
100,000.
What? 15,000 times 60. Oh, am I wrong?
I think you might have added a zero.
Damn it. This is why I'm a real estate agent. Damn you, Carol. Oh, that's nothing then, okay. I didn't calculate.
To be fair, it's very similar to what we would do if we went to a private assessment firm. If we went to PwC, for example, and said, please assess us, we would pay them whatever it was.
50,000, actually already got a quote from them 2 years ago.
So we pay them $50,000 and they would give us a product, i.e. an assessment report. That's essentially what we're doing in this situation, except we're doing it via an LGNZ program.
I think the calculator does work actually, because 15,000 times 67 is what? That's $1 million.
Through the chair, my concern is the level of performance of my staff, or our staff, and I have concerns with what they've got on their plate. If you start adding something like this on at this stage, it's just not going to happen.
I agree with you. And the other thing is, can we not benchmark already with local government New Zealand? We can go there already and source that stuff.
Yes, the independence of, and a sort of lot deeper level than that, so it looks right through the whole, the 90-something measures.
91, yeah.
You do need it.
They were very thorough, and they were it was quite testing, you know, and we would do really well on some and we wouldn't on others, would be my reading of it. So it's that sort of that very thorough benchmark. But there was definitely value in it for that price, and let's say it's a lot cheaper than what you would get elsewhere in the private sector. It's more just, is it the right, as a John's point, is it the right time given everything else that you've already spoken about this morning? As officers, we're starting to see how we can do it in the first tranche.
Okay. Well, on that note, shall I propose that we go with option 1, which is to withdraw?
Option 1 is agreed to.
Option 1?
Yeah.
Which is to withdraw.
She's saying it's
I don't want to withdraw.
Recommendation number 2.
Just through the chair.
Recommendation number 2, but it was option number 1.
So just through the chair, I totally agree with Councillor Dollins about our workload, but can we not,
Poor drafting from my point.
not withdraw from it completely, but perhaps revisit in time for the third tranche and we're still not obligated to it, but we're still,
I think you've got to move in a second, so you're going to have to.
Oh,
move
sorry.
on to that second one, but just to clarify, the recommendation one. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
doesn't
there
say
was.
that. Yeah, so option one is to, is essentially just that, is to delay until that.
No, it says withdraw.
It says withdraw.
Yeah.
No, it says
So
agrees
not
to.
option one, recommendation.
Recommendation.
It's
terrible. Sorry about
Agrees to join,
Oh, okay.
Agree to join the
but
program.
in the second
Do it now,
tranche.
do it
Yeah.
in September, we've got more time.
And drafting.
What do we want to do?
So
One.
you've got a mover and a seconder for two. Decline.
Decline.
The exercise program, as I understand it.
Mm-hmm. Just put that one to the vote and then we can.
Okay.
So you've got a mover, a seconder.
So who,
Anyone wish to speak for or against?
anyone wish to? For or against? Option two?
sorry, I did probably speak out of turn before, apologies, but yeah, I don't think we should decline to join it.
No. Right. So do we vote for that?
So I'll be voting
Or
against.
do we
Confusing now.
Who's in favour of option two? Raise your hands.
Oh, I've moved it.
Option two or
Three. Right. Not carried.
Oh, sorry.
It's
a decline.
Decline.
Sorry. Turn that out.
Okay, two.
I think.
That's very confusing.
So it still fails. Does any
Okay.
remover or is
No, it's
remover
been, it's not.
Is the remover for
Option one.
to join the LG?
Yes.
I move option one.
Right.
Second.
Seconder. Okay. Who?
All those in favour?
All those in favour of option one?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Here you are.
Carried.
No, you just said you were.
Okay.
No,
Move a resolution to exclude the public. I'm moving. Second? Second up?
I'll second this.
Thank you. Right. All those in favour, say aye. Right. Hold on.
Rosie came down.
Jane's gone, I think he makes it. I think Councillor Cousins may have thought it's finished. He's on the run.
Some people are gone.
Sorry, Jane, I've just got to find the password. The computer's gone to sleep.
Can't do it yet.
Watching it. It's about right.
I'm tired.
Yep.
Correct, there's only one item, which is the members for your.
So confirm minutes.
Okay, cool. You've got 3 vacancies and 3 applicants.